Are you more interested to see where Belichick goes or Harbaugh?
For me, it's Harbaugh. For me, it's Harbaugh. I mean, I think Belichick is a foregone conclusion. And I don't think he'll end up with the Chargers. I'm very excited about the future of the Chargers now that they came to their senses and got rid of Brandon Staley. And I think that that's a place that Jim Harbaugh should go. But more importantly than that, here's where Jim Harbaugh interests me. 4 years in San Francisco, 2011 to 2014. 3 NFC championship games and a Super Bowl appearance, a 44-19-1 record. This man has proven he could coach on the NFL level. And so where he goes is of profound interest to me because he has a relationship with Chicago's ownership because of his days playing there, and he's still beloved there, and people talk about his affinity, for them and vice versa, and how he can end up there. I think that would be a mistake. I think he should go to the Los Angeles Chargers without question. But because of the few positions, there could be a position opening in Atlanta, there could be a position opening in Chicago. That's just a couple of teams. Obviously, one is already open with the Los Angeles Chargers. The interest is not just in Harbaugh, but where he's going to land.
Right.
With Bill Belichick, I view it as being differently, and I've said this for the longest time now. He's the greatest coach of this era, probably the greatest coach who's ever lived. He is also the guy that is viewed in Massachusetts as the person, if not the NFL community, as the person who forced out Tom Brady. And because of that, the end is near. Because no matter how much they struggled, if Tom Brady had just retired, never went anywhere else, and he just left, Bill Belichick is still revered. But because of that nugget of intel, you forced out the golden boy, essentially. And then you follow it up by not winning? No, people ain't gonna let that go. And so we're just looking at Bill Belichick, who's 72 years of age, and we're saying, all right, time's up in New England. With Harbaugh, where's he going? Michigan gonna stay? Or is he gonna go?
Yeah.
And where is he gonna go? I think Harbaugh is a more interesting and compelling story.
Yeah, we don't look. I'm more interested in Bill Belichick because of one of the statements you made about him being the greatest coach ever. Two, like I agree with you as far as the writing on the wall in New England, but I want to see if he can go and do it again somewhere else, right? Like it. Let's not kid ourselves. And we've seen a sample size in New England, but we know what the quarterback situation has been there. Does he have in him to go to a team with a quarterback and say, no, I had a lot to do with that. I had a lot to do with us winning those Super Bowls. And look, for anybody that knows, football knows that he had a lot to do with it. But think about it, Stephen A. A second iteration of Bill Belichick in a new place. Does he try to implement the Patriot way there? Or does he come up into where we are in the league now? Is he able to make that adjustment? Is he able to adjust not being the general manager and not making decisions on personnel and going in and just being a head coach? I think there are so many more intriguing things about if Bill Belichick goes to another team, what type of control, who the quarterback will be. Can you build a franchise that may be struggling right now?
And what does it do for his legacy?
Exactly.
If he doesn't get anything done after we saw what Tom Brady was able to do
I think I think Bill Belichick's second part, if and when he goes somewhere, his second part will be a huge indictment or positive on his entire career.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about if we're going to talk about if he's the greatest ever. That's not what I'm talking about.
Well,
but
I think that comes up. You think if
Molly,
he goes
six championships.
I'm just saying, if he goes somewhere else and nothing happens and it's a disaster, you think it's just conclusion, greatest of all time?
I think that's already now. It's a lot of people that the Vince Lombardis and it's a lot of people that have differing views. I think Bill Belichick, because of the success and sustained success. Because remember, we're not only talking about Super Bowls. This man went to the playoffs every year too, and they went deep in the playoffs beyond winning Super Bowls. So I think he's the greatest coach to ever coach in the NFL,
without question. And because we have to give credit where credit is due for not messing up a great thing. Phil Jackson, Phil Jackson having Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and those brothers, and then obviously Kobe and Shaq. but there's also something to be said for what you didn't do. Phil Jackson was smart enough not to take the Knicks head coaching job. He ran president of basketball operations, but he was smart enough not to take their head coaching job because he didn't think he could win with them and it would tarnish his resume. Bill Belichick didn't do that. He kept on coaching, kept on being a GM, kept on failing at evaluating talent and assembling a roster, particularly a coaching staff as well. You know, Matt Patricia departs for the head coaching job in Detroit. You replace him, but then you know what, you need an offensive coordinator after Josh McDaniels depart, and you pick Joe Judge and Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
When Matt Patricia wets the bed in Detroit, that made no sense whatsoever. You took Mac Jones a year back. So I look at all of those things, I see all of that, and it's such a blemish on his resume because you didn't have a winning record in Cleveland, even though y'all were on an upward, your trajectory was going in the right direction. You have a winning record in Cleveland. You didn't have a winning record since Tom Brady departed from New England. So the only success he's ever had is with Tom Brady. That makes for an interesting storyline. I get what you're saying, but that's down the line. It depends on where he goes. It depends on what kind of quarterback he has.
Let me ask
it
you
depends
this.
on whether or not he's going to coach as opposed to being both the coach and the GM. It depends on all of that. With Jim Harbaugh, I'm talking about Monday night comes, you win the national title. Now it's like, where the hell is he going to go? Because you know a few teams can need him.
Bigger missed opportunity if Baltimore, the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, or Brock Purdy and those superstars don't win the Super Bowl.
This was such a hard question for me.
Yeah.
Because I understand it from the Ravens standpoint that they have Lamar Jackson, and he's going to be the league MVP. But I'm going to go with the Niners. And the reason why I came to the Niners is because we've seen this team play in 3 NFC championships and a Super Bowl and lose them all, right? And not get the ultimate prize. Jimmy Garoppolo in the Super Bowl against Kansas City, the playoff game against the Los Angeles Rams. They've lost, the NFC Championship against the Los Angeles Rams. Obviously, last year against the Philadelphia Eagles, you lose all your quarterbacks. I just think they've been on the cusp for so long that we could start kind of, Stephen A., honestly, we could start getting around Bills territory with the opportunities and them not being able to seize the moment. For me, we talked about the 49ers all season long as being the best team. I don't think they're the best team anymore. I think that's the Baltimore Ravens. I think the Ravens are the best team in the league. So I understand that from a disappointment standpoint if they don't get it done. San Francisco has been at the doorstep for the last 5 years almost. Think about if San Francisco has won 2 championships. Would we talk about the Chiefs like we do? Mm-hmm. No.
No, we would.
We would talk about San Francisco being that defiant character in this Patrick Mahomes love affair. So I put it there with Kyle Shanahan, with this defense, this offense, and where they've been previously.
You're wrong. If the question was bigger missed opportunity if Ravens or Kyle Shanahan don't win the Super Bowl, you'd be right. 49ers, not so much. Because when you look at their roster as complete as it is, particularly with the acquisition of Christian McCaffrey, who just arrived last year, that was a missed opportunity because they lost 4 quarterbacks in one season.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even have a quarterback in the NFC Championship game for the last 3 quarters. We've never seen anything like it where you line up behind center and it's a foregone conclusion because everybody knows you cannot throw the football because you literally, not theoretically, not figuratively, literally you did not have a quarterback on the roster. It's unbelievable. It was a damn shame. And we were robbed of what could have been an epic NFC Championship game in Philadelphia, Lincoln Financial Field last year, I believe. Having said all of that, I think about Kyle Shanahan, who's been exceptional, obviously, throughout his coaching career. But the one thing that was a knock against him was him in the 4th quarter of Super Bowls, first against the New England Patriots when they gave up a 28-3 lead. And when he was in Atlanta. That's right, when he was in Atlanta as the offensive coordinator and the play caller, and you throwing the football instead of running the football and using the damn clock. And then, of course, in the Super Bowl, when Kansas City came back on you. And so you look at it from that perspective, it goes to Kyle Shanahan. I'm going with the Ravens on this particular question because of Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, obviously, he got his bag, and he deserved it. He's a superstar and a former league MVP. He deserves it. He's a candidate for league MVP honors this year, and I think he may win this year, okay? And he'll deserve that too. So when you have that, what was the knock? He's a 1-3 record in the playoffs, but he never had any receivers. He hasn't thrown to any Pro Bowl receivers throughout his career, blah, blah, as a starter, blah, blah, blah. We said all of these stuff about him. Well, we ain't saying that now. I mean, Zay Flowers is a bad brother, the rookie, right? OBJ can make. I only had one catch last week for 33 yards, but it's a 33-yard catch. That was a big-time catch, okay? You see the weapons that he has available to him. He's got a running game. He's got a passing game. You know how mercurial he is. And you got a defense rifle Rough Riders that can answer the call against anybody, as they showed against the San Francisco 49ers, along with various others. Blew out Detroit, blew out Seattle, blew out, San Francisco, okay? We've seen this. And so when you take all of those things in consideration, along with the exceptional coaching of John Harbaugh, and the fact, believe it or not, as an aside, the Harbaugh brothers this year could win championships. Your brother, you can win, the little brother can win a national championship, and the big brother can win an NFL championship. So we got that going on. But we know how great Harbaugh has been throughout the years. So you take all of those things into account. I don't know how you don't look at this for the Ravens, especially with Kansas City having a down year, as a missed opportunity if they don't get it done. I don't know how you do that.
To you, I get the Lamar part of it, right? But if you thought about these playoffs, just like take these two teams and think about the playoffs, who would you say has an easier path to get to the Super Bowl? It's the 49ers. We think the 49ers are more dominant over the NFC teams than the Ravens are over the AFC teams. We think that. We going to have a conversation later as to why that's a part of the equation. You look at Cleveland, that's an individual opponent that you may have to play on the way. That ain't easy to do. We saw the 49ers dismantle the Cowboys. We saw them dismantle everybody in the NFC. Their only losses have come to teams in the AFC pretty much when you look at this. I think all of them. I think they lost 3 games to the AFC North, if I'm not mistaken. Cleveland, they lost to Baltimore, and was it Cincy that they lost to? Anyway, we don't think anybody in the NFC can even remotely closely come to the 49ers outside of the Cowboys, and we're not sure if that's the case. The Ravens could lose before they get there, even though we saying that's the best team, because this is a new iteration of it.
But you're looking at the season in totality. I'm looking at the momentum shift that has transpired over the last 6-7 weeks or so. The Ravens have become the story. A matter of fact, we weren't talking about them enough only because we were talking about San Francisco and how complete San Francisco looked. Then we said in the week leading up to it, this is the game of the year. And we heard how insulted the Baltimore Ravens were because they were running roughshod over everybody and they were an underdog, and people were like, all right, we'll see if they back it up or not. And what did they go out there and do? They bust San Francisco's you know what. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, ever since then, we've all had to humble ourselves and go like this. Damn, this team is on another level right now. That's what we've been saying. And obviously, we wouldn't even be talking about Lamar Jackson as the MVP if that game against San Francisco had not happened.